Hey everybody, today I'm reviewing the Invicta 2 Specialty Chronograph Model 6620. Let's get started. Here you'll see the standard Invicta packaging. This is a faux leather yellow tone box with like a cream yellow stitch. The Invicta logo in silver letters on the top, and a nice little wave pattern on top of the box here. That's kind of nice. Open it up, and there's the watch. Take that out and put it aside for a second. Along with the watch, inside you'll find a application for the extended warranty from Invicta, a generic Invicta manual covering all their different movements and all that stuff, just showing it. This covers all their different watch types and just explains how to use them. You'll also get a folded up paper instruction manual for this specific caliber that comes in this watch, and you'll get something similar to this, except of course with the Invicta logo and everything. Basically, it's just a little plastic plaque kind of piece that comes on the watch. On the back, it would state the MSRP. So let's move this back there out of the way and get to the watch. Again, this is the Invicta 6620. This is a Quartz chronograph movement. It's a Swiss ISA 8172 model. The case measures 45 millimeters wide, 13 millimeters thick, with a 22 millimeter lug width. Also of note on the case, this uses Invicta's Flame Fusion crystal, which they claim approaches the hardness of sapphire. It is definitely not as hard as sapphire, but it is definitely better than mineral crystal. It definitely scratches less. It's harder to scratch, I should say, than mineral crystal. But all of my Flame Fusion crystals do have scratches on them, so it's not impermeable, but it is better. So better than mineral. You'll see here on the case, the lugs are brushed, and the sides are a nice mirror polish. Tried to clean it up as best I could before filming. Same on both sides. The case back is laser etched. Let me get it in the right orientation here. It says Invicta Specialty Collection, just some info about the Swiss parts chronograph, 100 meter water resistant, model number, etc. The watch has a 120 click unidirectional bezel. This bezel, as you can hear, is pretty noisy, and it's got a lot of play in it. So not really the best quality bezel, but it does its job. I wouldn't trust it to hold its position necessarily if you're not keeping an eye on it. But for simple, cooking something, checking that kind of time, seeing how long it takes you to get somewhere, it does the job for that, no problem. The chronograph movement, you'll see here the seconds hand, thin seconds hand right there at 12 o'clock position. That's for the chronograph. At the 2 o'clock position is the 60-second time hand. At the 6 o'clock position is a day of the week. At the 10 o'clock position is the 30-minute chronograph totalizer. And at 4 you have a date wheel. So I'll just show you real quick how to use this. This is not a screw down crown. You can see it just spins here freely in the innermost position. Pop it out once, and now you can change the date. Pop it out twice to the second position, and now you can change the time. So I'm going to move these out of the way so we can see a little better. That should do. Alright. You'll also notice on the case here, there's two other buttons at the roughly 2 o'clock and 4 o'clock positions. These are for the chronograph. The top button here at 2 o'clock, if you press it, that'll start the chronograph. So you can see there the 12 o'clock position. The seconds hand has started moving. It counts fifths of a second, so it ticks 5 times per second. Tap this up top to pause. Tap it again to keep it going. While it's running, if you hit the 4 o'clock position button, it will pause, but it's still keeping track of time. So you could use this, say, if you're timing a race for 2 different runners. When the first runner crosses the finish line, you pause it and record his time. But in the meantime, the second runner is still being timed, and you can see it jumps and then resumes where it was. I'm just going to do that real quick once again. So right now it's paused. I could be recording a time. Once I have it down, I hit it again, and it jumps back to where it was. Now to reset, pause it with the top button, then hit the 4 o'clock position button, and it will reset back to 12. So that's how the time works there, the chronograph, sorry. On the dial, you'll see the numerals at all the hour positions are a mirror polish, just like the case. One of the big features of this watch for me was the dial. The dial here, you can see it's like a sunray dial, sunburst, whatever you want to call it. So it's brushed outwards from the center, all across the whole dial, and that gives it this really nice reflective, just all kinds of different reflections coming off of it. Along with that, the three subdials are also sunray dials. So when you're moving your wrist around, especially in the sun where it has a single point source of light, you get all kinds of nice reflections on here that really make this an interesting piece. It has a little inner bezel there that has a tachymeter on it. It appears white, but it's actually silver. It's just because everything else is silver too. See, that about does it for the case. So let's move. Oh, sorry, one more thing I wanted to mention. The hour and minute hands are both loomed, and that's it. No second hands, no numerals, nothing. All you get is hour and minute for loom. And the loom is acceptable. It's not great. It's not terrible. Just in the middle. But it can be a little bit more difficult to tell time since nothing else is glowing. So you have no point of reference. Just a note. Let's move on to the bracelet here. The bracelet is 22 millimeters at the lugs, tapering down to 18.5 millimeters. You can see it's polished in the center, brushed on the sides, and it's also polished on the sides of the links. This is a folded link bracelet. So let me see if I can get a good picture here. Yep, you can see on the insides of the links, it's actually just metal that's folded over to make it appear as if it's a solid link. It isn't. But this hasn't been a problem for me at all, so it seems to work pretty well. It's also hollow end links, you can see here, matching up with the case, and brushed on the inside. This is a single action clasp. You can see there the Invicta logo on a polished background. Single action, there's no flip over safety or anything. It's just push these buttons and it opens up, and you can see the stamped stainless steel clasp there. I've had this open once on me that I can remember, so it's, for a single action, I guess that's maybe expected. I don't know. This is the only kind that I have like this. I would, once is too many for me, but overall not too bad. It uses friction pins to hold the links together. One of these pins is actually loose, and let me see if I can figure out. Yep, this one right here. You can see right there that pin is actually coming out right now. So what I do, now that I know, is I just push it back every once in a while. I think the hole is actually a little bit loose or something, but so if I let it go for too long, I suppose it would just fall off eventually. I've never been to that point, and I don't want to get there. Other than that, that's the bracelet. Let me get a wrist shot here. Let's get it to focus. And that's it on the wrist. With a 45 millimeter case, it does have some wrist presence. For me, I feel like this is just about my perfect size watch. This feels almost identical to my recently reviewed Oberst Morgan Explorer, which is only a 42 millimeter case. So it's pretty interesting actually how lug width, lug length, lug to lug like that, makes a big difference in how a watch feels on your wrist. Even though this is 3 millimeters larger, it feels almost exactly the same. Very comfy. I have a about I want to say 7.25 inch wrist. I don't remember exactly, so just to give you a frame of reference as far as size goes. Sits pretty comfortable. One other thing that I want to mention about the bracelet: there are no micro adjustments on this bracelet. You just have to adjust whole link at a time. Luckily, I got a pretty good fit here. I would like it just a little bit tighter. But that's one thing to be aware of. MSRP on this watch, which is what you'll get on that little tiny plaque that I showed you earlier, like this guy right here, is $495, which is a joke. There's no way you would pay that for this watch. The retail that I paid was about $60, I believe, and I've seen it currently. I checked, and I think I found it for about $80. which for $80 I feel that this is a reasonably good watch. I would give it an okay at $80. The dial is a very nice dial. The crystal is good enough to keep you reasonably scratch free. Although sapphire would have been nice, but at this price point, you know, that's pretty much cost prohibitive. It's not a screw down crown, so you might want to be careful with, you know, any kind of deep water or anything like that. I definitely wouldn't take this diving. And the bracelet, while it isn't solid link, is pretty good quality. Nothing to complain about there. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and give you a lume shot, and then we'll come back for some final thoughts. Alright, I've been charging up the Invicta here for about 2 or 3 minutes, so I'm going to go ahead and get the light off, and we're going to see what it looks like. There she is. Let's get it to focus. You can see the lume starts off pretty good. It fades rather quickly, and it fades to a pretty dim level actually, but then it does seem to hold it for a decent amount of time. I would say it's probably completely unreadable in 2 hours, maybe 3. So not great, not terrible. I've definitely had better, but it works. You can see here, because there's no points of reference, all you have is the hour hand and the minute hand, it can be pretty difficult to figure out what the time is. Right now, I actually can't even tell you. Let me check real quick. Right now, it's about 10 after 8, so you can see how that's kind of difficult to figure out when you have no points of reference. Alright, so that's the lume. Let's go back for some final thoughts. Alright, I'm back with the Invicta 2 Chronograph. Just some closing thoughts. Would I say that this is a good buy for the price that I paid? Yes. At that price point, I would say that this is a good buy. If you can get it between, well, anything under $90 and under, I would say that this is a reasonably good purchase for what you're getting. It's a nice color. You know, it's all silver, but it works very well because of the play with polish and brushed finishes. You still have plenty of texture and differentiation, contrast, to make it an interesting and attractive watch. The bracelet is reasonably good. It's folded link, but in all honesty, it's been pretty much as good as any other solid link bracelet that I've had, with the exception of the no micro adjustments. I would have liked to have seen that, but I was lucky enough to get a good fit. The Flame Fusion Crystal, while not as good as Sapphire, is still a reasonably good option, and it's much better than Mineral Crystal. And the main draw, of course, is the Sunray dial with that really nice luminescence or glow or whatever we want to call it. That just really draws you in. You can look at it for a long time, especially out in the sun. That's about all I have to say. I appreciate you watching, and check back for more videos soon.